Good evening, and welcome to a special Christmas Cluedo, where for the next 45 minutes, we invite you to sit back and play armchair detective. We're talking Cluedo, Christmas past, Christmas present. Hit it! It was 1990. Home Alone was in theaters. Jim Lee took over penciling the Uncanny X-Men comic, and celebrities tried to guess whodunit at Christmastide. I'm your host, Jerry D, with another episode of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, and fads. If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, we got it covered. Now, joining me is a Totally Rad Christmas All-Star and Ratty winner. You might know him from the Home Alone, Funny Farm, and the Time Life Treasury of Christmas episodes. It's my brother, Danny. Danny, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, Jerry? What's going on, Totally Rad community? How are y'all? Good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. Last time we talked was Home Alone 2, and that was a fun one. And I think before that it was Funny Farm, and that was also fun.
I already forgot that we did that one. Yeah. Oh,
Lamb
I have a
fries.
blast every
Yeah.
time. Yeah, lamb fries. Every time I'm on, I have a blast. So,
Oh, it's good to see you. It's been a long time. Can't wait. I don't know if I'm gonna get to see you again soon, but hopefully.
yes, sir.
At any rate, it's good. It's good to see you now. Now we're here to talk Clue, and especially a British version called Cluedo, which was a game show. But before we do that, I want you to hit me with the toaster. So, just like Carol Kane did to Bill Murray and Scrooged. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. I want you to hit me with the first thing you can think of. Don't think too hard about it. So here we go.
Okay.
Which Clue suspects would you want to form a band with?
This is easy. Colonel Mustard, just because I was always Colonel Mustard when I was a kid.
That was
I
your
have
guy,
no
yeah.
other reasons. Pretty shallow, but it's Colonel Mustard. He's awesome. Well,
Right
no,
on.
actually, Sergeant Gray. I also really liked him.
Ooh.
I think it
Oh
was
wow.
Sergeant Gray, right?
Yeah. Okay. There was a
Yeah.
Sergeant Gray.
And
Oh.
Master Detective. That's the character I really liked.
Sergeant. Well, he was a cop. Or depending on which version, like that VHS version, he was a psychopath, masquerading as a cop.
Oh,
Remember? He
is
was like
that
an
Clue
escaped mental
2?
mental patient in Clue and Clue 2. Yeah, the VCR
I
games.
already forgot about that, man. That's not very memorable. Sorry to say.
That's okay. That's okay. All right. Okay. So, let's say you're spending Christmas with all the Clue suspects. Would you rather trim the tree, go Christmas shopping, or go caroling?
Um, Christmas shopping because we'd be out in public because I feel like at
That's right.
least half of them would try to kill me at some point. So don't want to be in a house with them ever.
Nope, nope. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. All right. And let's see. If you could be Secret Santa for one of the suspects, who would it be?
Um, I guess Miss Scarlett. I always thought that she was a cool chick. So
Leslie Ann Warren. Yes.
oh yeah, yes. I
All
had
right.
sort of a crush on Miss Scarlett. So there you
Heck
go.
yeah. I don't think anybody didn't. And last one, last one. Which 80s cartoon character would most likely solve the murder of Mr. Body?
80s cartoon. Oh no, that's not a cartoon character. Well, this isn't a cartoon character, but I was thinking the detective from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He
Oh,
could
okay.
probably do
Well,
it.
I'll count it. I'll count it.
He's in a cartoon movie.
Bob Hoskins, Eddie Valiant. Eddie Valiant is the character
Yeah.
name. All
Or an
right.
early 90s cartoon character, Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck could do it. I was expecting you to say Inspector Gadget, but
Oh yeah.
that's all right. Although it'd
My
probably
bad,
be
bro.
Penny that would do it, and he would just kind
Yeah.
of fumble through.
Yeah.
Well, that's just a
God,
way
so
for our
useless.
listeners to get to know you a little bit better. So thank you for that. Now, tonight, we're talking the ITV game show Cluedo.
You are invited to a murder. Arlington Grange, home of wealthy widow Elizabeth Peacock, society hostess and patron of the arts, a woman with a reputation she would rather forget. Colonel Mustard, secret lover of Mrs. Peacock, a dashing military hero whose glittering career hides a tarnished past. The Reverend Green, pastor of the parish, whose means of raising money are not heaven-sent. Though a man of the cloth, he has feet of clay. Professor Plum, nuclear physicist and government advisor. But would his research methods stand the scrutiny of a microscope? Miss Scarlett, vivacious stepdaughter of Mrs. Peacock, whose lust for the high life will let nothing or no one stand in her way. And Mrs. White, for the past 15 years, friend and housekeeper to Mrs. Peacock. But what dark secret did she bring to Arlington Grange? 6 people, all with murder on their minds.
That's, of course, the original name of Clue. It was invented in Britain. It's kind of a play or parody on the game Ludo. So Cluedo is what it's called over there. But in America, that means nothing. So it became Clue. I'd never seen this. I didn't know anything about it. And like David and I, and you to a much, much less extent, but we were huge Clue fans. I don't remember this at all. So watching it was definitely something crazy. Now, before we get into that, what do you remember about Clue, like in general?
Oh, I was hoping you'd ask me because, yeah, I was into it. Like you said, I wasn't as into it as you and David, but I do have a memory. I don't know if this is the first time we got Clue or what happened, but I remember we went to a garage sale and Mom found Clue like from the late 70s or something, and we bought it and then we started playing, and that's my first memory. And I just remember being so excited having the new game, and it was so mysterious, and yeah.
That was still my favorite version of Professor Plum. The way the
Why is
character
that?
looked, I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
I just like the way he looked there. I always, because it was Professor Plum, right? So I always thought he was
Yes.
like a nuclear scientist or
Yes.
like some sort of like awesome thing. And then in the movie they just made him a psychiatrist. I was like, what?
Yeah. What? So you must have really liked him in this one.
I did. He was a nuclear
He's-
physicist. I was like, finally, thank you.
I was thinking of that while I was watching it. I was like, oh, Jerry always gets the smart ones. And Donatello and
Heck yeah. But I also liked because I also hated that in the VHS the games they made him an archaeologist. And I was like, what? An archaeologist? Now thinking
mm,
back, that's super cool, like Indiana Jones.
yeah.
But like at the time I was like, come on, he's a professor. Like make him a cool professor.
Oh my gosh.
It's so dumb.
That's funny.
So your favorite was always Colonel Mustard. Yeah, mine was always Professor
Well,
Plum. And I think
I
David was
should.
Miss Scarlet a lot, right?
Well, he was
Or
half
he was
Miss
Mr. Green
Mr.
sometimes.
Green and half Miss Scarlet, but I don't know if he was my favorite just because y'all two would always pick first, maybe, and he was
Oh, could be.
I got the leftovers.
The only guy
Yeah,
left.
yeah. I'm not sure. Maybe that happened a lot.
Well, that's true. So that's why to this day you still prefer Luigi over Mario
Yes, that's what I was about to say. Luigi. I always love second player characters
and
better.
Proto Man over Mega
Proto
Man.
Man, yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
You were Mega Man.
Heck yeah. So dumb. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I never let you be first
Oh
fiddle.
no.
You're always second.
You didn't do anything wrong. You acted like a
Like
good big brother would.
typical big brother. I
Teach me
know.
humility.
I know, but you should have like demanded it so I would learn some too. Like at this point, it's too late. But
Oh man. Okay, well there you go. I failed too.
no, it's all good. So so this ran on ITV, like I said, in Britain from July 25th, 1990, all the way through May 24th, 1993. It's produced by Granada in association with Waddington's Games and Action Time. There were 4 different what they call series. So we call them usually seasons here. This was 4 series. Each series had different actors for all the players. And then the
Hmm.
Christmas special, which is kind of like in between series 1 and series 2, also had different actors.
Hmm.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, I guess scheduling, they're like, who do we got here? Get him. Yeah, he can do it. Or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, But anyway, it was Christmas special. It's its own thing. It had its own cast. It was interesting. I'm going to say that. It felt very much like a soap opera meets
Hmm.
like a game show. Like like
Man,
let's mash
I,
them up, see what happens.
yeah. I mean, I gotta say, like, when I started watching it, I really like the idea. Like, the idea of the show is amazing. Like, oh, it's so
Yes.
cool. It's gonna be like Clue, and you're gonna have to figure out, who da 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 da, and critical thinking and whatever. But in practicality, I don't think it worked like that. Like you have to watch this 25 minute video, and I guess you're supposed to just like be glued to the screen to like know what color stuff is, and like get every single subtle hint, and like I'm not good at that.
No,
I'm not
no,
a good listener or observer, so
there was a lot that went on. And yes, to determine who was going to go first, it was like, what color was this lampshade next to Miss Scarlett? You're like, I don't know. I was watching Miss Scarlett. What are you talking about?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it was very crazy. So, hosted by James Bellini, this particular episode aired on Boxing Day, or the Feast of St. Stephen, December 26th, 1990. So, 1990, technically the start of the 90s, but it's the end of the decade of the 80s, because there was no year
Mm.
zero. So decades go from, 1 to 10. Still counts as part of my timeline anyway. But 300 members in the studio audience,
That was
which
crazy.
which is ridiculous. That's a lot of
Yeah.
people.
They
Yeah.
were into it too. They were really into
They sure were. I mean,
it.
I get it. I'd be into it too if I was there live, right? Like,
Yeah,
oh
true.
no, and they were voting. There's like times where they could vote and everything. And
Hmm.
it didn't have like the humor or the pacing
Right,
of the Clue movie. And I think that's
right.
kind of what it was missing. Because, 1985, Clue came out, became a huge cult movie, like, cult classic.
Hmm.
Didn't really do well or that well in the box office. But then, like, they didn't play on that at all. It was all very serious and melodramatic. And just it
Right.
reminded me literally of like when mom would watch All My Children or something, and when what's his name, David Canary would play both Stewart and Adam Chandler.
Oh man, yeah. Loved it when they had twins. That was my favorite.
Twins is always your favorite. Yeah. I
Yeah,
remember when you had the GI Joes of Alley Viper, and you had the one in orange and blue, and then there was also
yeah.
the other one, right, in like black and yellow or
Twins.
something. Yeah, they were twins.
You were always making fun of me for the twins. No, but yeah, it was fine. I mean, it wasn't terrible, like the acting or anything,
Well,
but I see what you're saying. Like it
yeah,
wasn't that interesting. Didn't have any charm.
no,
Uh,
no, not at all.
but was like what it reminded me of, and again, like it's such a cool idea. I wish that they could have done
Executed it better.
executed it better. But it kind of reminded me of the game shows of that era, like Carmen San Diego.
Oh
There was
yeah,
that one too, and it was a popular thing at the time. So
where
I don't
in
know.
the world is
And I
Carmen
can't
Sandiego?
imagine. I'm kind of going off topic here, but I
No,
can't
no, go for it,
imagine
go for it.
having to watch the same six characters for the whole season. Like I would like different, not even just actors, but characters.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
how could I keep watching this? I don't know. It's kind of strange to me, but
I don't know that. I mean, when I did my other Clue episodes, I talked more about it, and I've kind of forgotten a little bit about some of the details. But like when Clue Master Detective came out, I think that was after this. I think it was either
hmm.
89 or it might have been like around this time. But I also don't know if that was like strictly in America, like Parker Brothers, or if that was also done over
Mm,
there, because it could be they couldn't use those characters, because that's like four more characters. They had what,
yeah.
Madame Rose, Miss Peach, Sergeant Gray, like you mentioned, and Monsieur Brunette. Uh,
We, we
you
always
know
laughed
that
at him.
that classic name,
Monsieur Brunet, yeah.
classic French name right there. But so yeah, it was the same six characters. That's why they were always introducing other characters. And so we
Mm,
get in this particular version, we get like the estranged or not estranged, but like the former owner, the son of the former owner, and then his butler. Yeah, Richard Forrest, and then his chauffeur Ken, and we'll get there. We'll talk about it. But in this particular episode, there were normally 30 minutes, which to me is like a ludicrous amount to have to watch something, ask questions, and then decide from there. In this case, it was extended to 45 minutes, yeah. Which also, like, just make it an hour, guys. Just make it an hour,
Yeah, what is this? TBS? I don't know, sorry.
No, I get it. I know where you're going with it. But, yeah, that didn't make sense to me. But anyway, so it was like there was extra evidence. They painted the sets from blue to red. The team's desks, they used to be white. They changed them to like a cream color for some reason. I think it could have stayed white and been fine. Usually, and this is what was interesting about the show, was it, especially in the first season, it was usually like a famous person, like an actor, an author, something like that. And they were paired with like someone that had to kind of do with the situation. So like a forensic pathologist or like an actual like inspector, something like that. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like see how good are you really based on like this ludicrous premise that was going on. In this one, this Christmas special, because it's a special, they just had all, famous people I mean, Britishly famous. So, like not world famous. They'd be like some of our TV stars over there rather than
right. Yeah, I guess since I'm not from Britain, I didn't recognize any of them. I didn't know they were celebrities until you just told me right now. That's cool though.
I only knew because he mentions it. But if they talk really fast, and if you were not listening, then I only know because I looked it up. The other
for
thing
celebrities, oh my bad.
No, go for it. For celebrities,
I was gonna say, well, for celebrities, they did pretty good actually. They got all kinds of stuff that I didn't even notice. So.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, when Ken the chauffeur was a spoiler alert dead, they're like, well, he must be the original Forrest. And I'm like, I mean, I guess, but like, there's no real indication that he is.
Yes, man. That's a major inference, man.
So I had to go back, and it's like, oh, okay, it's really there, but it's subtle. It's like, wow, this isn't Agatha Christie's Poirot or anything. I mean, it's like, it's there. Another thing that was interesting about the show is that usually, in Clue, there's 6 weapons, right? Master Detective would get a few more, but it's always the same 6 weapons. Here, the weapons would change each episode. Now, in this particular one, it's all the traditional 6 weapons that we get in the game, but like they would introduce poison. Instead of the revolver, it was often like a shotgun or something else. Sometimes it was like a trophy was used one time to beat someone over the head with. I mean, it's like a statuette, stuff like that. So it was just different weapons. Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying, but I would want it to also have that with characters, like, or make up new characters, something.
And then they also changed out the rooms, because there's typically 9 rooms in Clue. Yeah, that makes sense. Right? Not 8 rooms. Wait, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, like 8 rooms in Clue. So they would change out the rooms as well. The billiard room in this particular episode was replaced with the hall. And it was set in Arlington Grange. That's the name of the manor, Arlington Grange. Ooh. It was in the fictional town of Arlington, which is a little trippy because that's where I live.
I know. That's all I think of when I hear Arlington.
I know, same, me too.
And Virginia, I think, Arlington, Virginia.
There is no Arlington, Virginia. It's all just Arlington, Texas. Even though that's like, no, I'm just kidding. It's a very important spot in the U.S.
I thought you were serious for a second. I was like, whoa,
no.
You got this wrong for like the last 20 years.
No,
you got me.
I was just playing. No. Arlington, Virginia. Usually, if you look up Arlington anything, the first thing that pops up is Virginia, because it's more important. But anyway, it's Arlington Grange. That was actually Arley Hall in Cheshire, built in 1744. So it's like an actual old manor.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah,
they're using real locations, real historical background. That's cool.
Yeah. The other thing I want to mention, because there's a few differences before we dive into it, Mr. Green in the US, but in the original version and in this version, it's Reverend Green.
Yeah.
So he's a vicar, you know.
That was interesting. Since I didn't know that, I thought that they had changed it. I was like, he's an FBI agent. What?
He's gonna go home and sleep with his wife. Yeah, no. And then in the US, especially in those VHS games, Mr. Green seems to have ties to organized crime more often than not. That's kind of where we perceive him to be. But originally, yes, he was a reverend. So,
that's what's up. That's cool.
Now,
man, I'm learning a lot today.
Mrs. White was still the maid. This one was really interesting because Colonel Mustard was like having an affair. He was like dating Miss Scarlett, but also having an affair with Miss Peacock, or vice versa. I don't know which.
No, I couldn't tell either. Who's the official one?
I know, yeah. Beats me.
So confusing.
Yeah. But in this game, so each episode starts with the host introducing everything. He tells you the 6 weapons, the rooms. He names them all, names the suspects. And then they watched a little pre-recorded thing, right? After that, it usually ends in usually, well, it's like, 10 to 15 minutes, ends in the murder. And then the guests, after that, they cross-examine some of the characters. They actually bring the characters out into like a little separate, sequestered stand. And they get to ask the characters questions. And typically, when one team succeeds and the character stands up, confesses how they did it, and then the episodes end like with the next episode they kind of hint at it, and that's it. Okay, and then nothing happens, right? Like it's all these little things, and then the next episode it's as if it's a whole other.
Yeah.
And to make a long story short, too late.
That's how it ends. This one they extend it. We'll get into it, but there's actually like 45-second cross-examination bits. There's it's really interesting. There's also an extra added scene. And there was a few things that made me wonder, based on what they said, if there was even more filmed that they didn't show because they guessed it before then. So I don't know. I don't know, but that's kind of what I got. So let's talk about the actors, and then we'll talk about the teams. So Mrs. Peacock was played by Kate O'Mara. She's most known for her role as Caress Morel in Dynasty. He also played the Ronnie, who's kind of like Doctor Who's nemesis in Doctor Who. So okay. Yeah. So she's
never seen that, but that's cool.
Same. I'm like, I don't even know Dynasty. I mean, I know Dynasty. I just never watched it because Mom and Dad didn't really watch it. So
right. Yeah, and Doctor Who. Anybody asks me, have I seen Doctor Who? And I'm like, Doctor Who?
That's a good dad joke. So Colonel Mustard, whose name was Mike, Colonel Mike Mustard, which I was like, that doesn't sound right. He needs to be like Reginald, right?
Yes.
Or I don't know, Cornwall or something.
And he was played by Jeff Daniels. Jeff Diarrhea Head Daniels.
Diarrhea Head Daniels. So oh man!
Apologize to the viewers.
Good sketch. So yeah, Colonel Mike Mustard was played by David Robb, who I didn't really know him. Again, he was like from British TV. He played Prince Charles in Charles and Diana: A Royal Love Story, and he was Andrew in First Among Equals. Reverend Jonathan Green was played by Derek Nimmo, who is known in the UK as the Reverend Mervyn from All Gas and Gators. Apparently, he was typecast fairly early on as like these kind of bumbling, mild-mannered like pastors, and that's kind of who he played for most of his career. Professor Peter Plum.
Wow,
Peter, come on.
I always see him as like a Charles.
Although I do like, right, Charles. That's a good one. I do like how he was played by Ian Lavender, which is also a shade of purple. Like,
yes, perfect.
That's like, hey, so your agent's calling you. Hey, you want to be on Cluedo? You're like, only if I get to play Professor Plum.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's going to be in my headcanon.
Right. Yeah. So most known for Private Pike in Dad's Army. Again, like very popular British shows that I never saw because, you know.
Your British audience is really enjoying this segment.
I know. Shout out to you, Disco 54. Two more. Miss Vivienne, which I thought that was an interesting name. Vivienne Scarlett was played by Toya Wilcox, who was the lead singer of the band Toya. And I actually did know this because they have a few Christmas songs from the 80s.
1, 2, 3.
They had, yep, most known for It's a Mystery and Thunder in the Mountains, but she has a cool version of I Believe in Father Christmas.
They said there'll be snow at Christmas. They said there'll be peace on earth. But instead it just kept on raining. A veil of tears for the virgin birth. I remember one Christmas morning.
Not at all what I pictured Miss Scarlett to be, although she did have red hair, so there's at least that. But,
cool.
Then we get Mrs. Blanche White, which she doesn't look like a Blanche.
Oh, Blanche, but Blanche means white. Blanca.
Yeah, Blanc. Played by Joan Sims, most known from the Carry On series. She was Graham in Till Death Do Us Part, Madge and Sykes, and Mrs. Bloomsbury Barton in Worzel Gummidge. And then our guests today were Richard Forrest, played by Sean Pertwee, who I knew as Alfred from Gotham. If you ever watched the show Gotham, he played Alfred. And then Ken the chauffeur was James Clyde, who is from The Bill, which I never saw. But speaking of The Bill, we had two teams. Each team had two celebrities. Team 1, I'm going to just call them Team 1 because I'm never going to remember their names. We had Tony Scannell, also from The Bill, that was played on ITV, and Fiona Spence from Prisoner and Home and Away. Team 2 was Trudy Goodwin, also from The Bill, and Leslie Grantham from EastEnders. Leslie Grantham would go on in Series 4 to play Colonel Mustard, so that was kind of cool. He also went to prison for killing a man before he was a famous actor. So
that's perfect. Yes.
So it was like apparently the studio got like a lot of flack, like letters written, people that thought it was in poor taste, for, especially the letter from like the family of the cab driver that he killed when he was in the army or something. Anyway.
That makes sense.
Now, there were also versions in Australia, France, Germany, Italy, Portugal, and Sweden, but it never made its way to the U.S. Sorry.
We would have watched it.
I would have watched it for sure. Yeah. I mean, especially if they showed it after like The Price is Right or or Wheel of Fortune.
We would have ate that up, man. We love shows like that.
Heck yeah. I still love murder mysteries. Like Tiff and I will watch Agatha Christie's Poirot, about, Hercule Poirot, Psych, which is also, like Monk was another one. I mean, we like all these kind of all these mystery shows. I mean, you remember we watched Murder by Death.
Oh, yes. That's the one with it's kind of like Clue. It's like in that mansion, right?
Right. Exactly. It had all these, but they were all like caricatures of famous detectives. So,
oh, yes.
Sam Spade, it was Sam Diamond, and instead of Hercule Poirot, it was like Achille Perrier. Instead of like Jessica Marple, it was like Jessie Marbles. So things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we liked those kind of movies, and then me and my friends like to play the kind of murder mystery games that have been popular since COVID.
Oh yeah,
They're like everywhere. Expensive, but fun for a night of teamwork. So but I'm never good at, and it kind of showed. I'm never good at actually like the critical thinking part and like figuring this. All I can do is like crack the numerical stuff if they need help with that.
Hey,
that's my one job.
That's important too, man. That's important too. All right, so let's dive into this particular episode. There's some odd Christmassy things in here. Some things that aren't as Christmassy, but anyway, so James Bellini did the introduction. He announced the weapons in the rooms. So like I said, we got the standard weapons this time. And he sets up the plot.
Now,
Consider the evidence. It's Christmas Day at Arlington Grange, and the lady of the manor, Mrs. Peacock, has invited a few close friends to share the traditional turkey dinner.
That's like the whole setup, okay? What we also find out is that Richard Forrest is a guest, and he said he was going to be in town. He was the son of the judge that owned Arlington Grange before Mrs. Peacock did.
Right.
And he was just in town. He wondered if he could call. And so she said yes. And so he's coming. And he's dressed as Santa Claus, or technically Father Christmas, but he's dressed as like Santa, but with the long robe. It's definitely more Father Christmas inspired because it's a
Yeah.
long robe, and it's got like the I don't know, like London type London coat, I don't know what it's called, type fur. Like it's
Sure.
got trim right under the shoulders along, and then trim at the bottom as well. And it's got a hood rather than like
Oh,
a
yeah,
Santa
that's
hat.
right. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So, I mean, it was just it makes sense. They're in London, you know. But it is funny because some of the team members, like the contestants, some called him Santa and some called him Father Christmas. I was like,
Yeah, we had that American influence
that's right.
by that time by 19, what did you say, 1990?
1990, yeah. They're like, maybe they'll pick us up in America. I don't know.
But first of all, okay, I gotta say, who would look? I'm having a Christmas party. The previous owner of the house wants to come. I'm like, no, we can visit another time. Like, this is just friends and family. Like, what? We,
Also, like, I mean, we bought a house. There was someone else that owned it before us. I don't know them, you know. I signed the most I know of them was that I signed a thing and bought the house
yeah,
room. Like, why do I
yeah,
want this dude coming around, right?
yeah. Except to like ask him, hey, like, did you have this problem with this pipe in this room or something, or like,
Yeah, yeah, for real. Like there's a weird thing. What happened there?
uh, come and have a Christmas with my friends and family. Yeah, I don't know.
It's
Maybe that's just me.
all our close friends are gathering for Christmas, but come along, the more the merrier.
Yeah,
So Richard Forrest arrives. He's dressed, like I said, as Father Christmas, and he's immediately introduced to Miss Scarlett. Mrs. White, we cut to Mrs. White. She's in the kitchen talking to Ken, the chauffeur. They're asking about if any of the stories of the judge are true and how, the Forrest father died, and they're just having a little conversation. And this is where the guests start arriving. So Professor Plum arrives and Colonel Mustard. And when Colonel Mustard comes in, he immediately like kisses Miss Scarlett
I
passionately. I
know.
was like, okay, I see you, Colonel Mustard.
I was already confused because, Professor Plum had already come in, right?
Right, right.
And and I thought that he liked Miss Scarlet probably because of the movie.
Because of Clue, the
Uh,
movie, yeah.
and it was saying something about her and him and her stepmom,
Right.
and I thought that she made that up so that way someone made it up so that way he wouldn't try to hit on Miss Scarlet, but he really like I don't know. I already had all these preconceived notions, so I was already out of it. If I can't even understand that, how am I going to solve anything? So,
You got to
uh,
go in blank, man. You got to go in blank.
I couldn't. I just got to say that right off the bat. So
Well, it's also interesting that they decided to make Miss Scarlet Mrs. Peacock's stepdaughter.
yeah.
Like, why? I don't know. Just okay. Why not? Why not? I guess is the answer. Um, so the Reverend Green arrives. He comes in through the kitchen and he brings some mince pies that I guess his wife or his housekeeper, I think he says his secretary made. And we learn here that Mr. Forrest is the son of the judge who used to own Arlington Grange, that
Right.
he called out of the blue on Christmas Eve because this is Christmas Day. And he was going to be in the neighborhood, and could he call? And that very British manners and hospitality. You're like, well, yes, of
Yeah.
course. Here in America, we'd be like, nah,
Yeah.
get out of here, man.
For real though.
Or what would mom say? Like, que visit y que tus patas.
Yes. Heck no, man. I probably wouldn't have even answered the phone.
Yeah, well, nowadays, yeah. Like,
They didn't
what?
have caller ID. What's going on?
Scam likely. It'll
Rich
say
people without caller ID. Oh yeah,
scam likely or
Scam likely
or spam risk, one of the it's one of those, yeah. Like, nope, not answering it. So Miss Scarlett is tasked with like showing Mr. Forrest around, but also like he used to live there. Why do you need to show him around, right? So she takes him to the library, and this is where he reveals that she appeared to before his dad, the judge, on a manslaughter charge. And he kind of tells her, "Look, my dad kept diaries. The judge kept diaries," which I don't know if they're allowed to do that, but anyway, the
Right.
judge kept diaries and of like who he thought or what he thought
Sure.
should have happened in all these cases. So like in certain cases the juries found them innocent, but he thought like he just had that gut feeling like they were guilty, and so he would write down like his thoughts. And so apparently, I guess his dad thought that Miss Scarlett was guilty of whatever manslaughter charge
Yeah.
she was accused of.
She shot somebody, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah. And so we talk about Professor Plum, Mr. Green, Reverend Green, Colonel Mustard, and Mrs. Peacock are in the lounge talking about the judge and his son Forrest. This is where she tells that he called. And this is where Reverend Green confesses, like he admits that he appeared before the judge. He was collecting money for a new church bell, and the money suddenly disappeared. And like Professor Plum's like, well, I mean, how could this dude know that? Like, so what? You okay? Well, we'll find. We already know as the audience because he kept diaries, but they don't know that.
Right there, I was already like, oh, it's Reverend Green. It's him. He's acting all sus, and he's like, hey, did he say if he did he say anything about me?
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, that's
Reverend
it.
Green solved it.
He did it.
No sussy.
Okay, Gen Zer.
Hey, I teach the Gen whatever it is now.
I know.
Zoomers.
Cece was telling me about it, or excuse me, little number one. At this point, it's fine. Cece was telling me about it. She's like, she's Gen Z, and then the Andrew and Lizzie are Gen Alpha, I think is what they're calling them. Like, whatever. I don't know. Whatever.
They'll create a new Clue character, Senor Skibbity.
Hey, I'd play it. Anyway, so yeah, he's like all freaked out about it. Miss Scarlett shows Forrest the study, and this is where he says that she was accused of she shot her guardian who put his hands on her. She kind of says it was more like self-defense that he would abuse her, so she shot him.
Yeah.
Now Forrest is dressed as Father Christmas again, and he's handing out presents in the dining room. And so Mrs. Peacock, this is very much like Clue the movie, right? That's the vibe I got.
Oh yeah.
He's like he gives them all presents and they open them
up. That's right.
Now let me see what I've got here. Mrs. Peacock.
Well, thank you.
And Professor Plum.
I say. Okay.
And Miss Scarlett.
Oh, goody, I love presents.
Does somebody want something?
No, you've got to get your present.
Oh dear, you want to be careful of that.
And Colonel Mustard.
Careful. Oh, no. Oh, yeah.
And Mrs. White.
Well, what a surprise. I wasn't expecting anything.
Oh, look, I've got a gun. I wonder if it's loaded.
No, never mind. A little stick.
What is this little charade all about? This is supposed to tell me something, is it?
Just presents from Father Christmas.
So Mrs. Peacock gets the knife, Professor Plum gets the lead pipe, although they call it lead piping.
Yeah.
Mr. Green gets the rope. Miss Scarlett gets the gun, which I was like, hey, you're British. Shouldn't you call it like a revolver or something?
Yeah.
Mrs. White gets a candlestick, although they call it candelabra a lot too. And
Yeah.
Colonel Mustard gets the wrench, or in Britain, the spanner, is what they call
Oh
it.
yeah, I got really excited. I thought of Star Wars. Hand me the hydro spanner. Empire Strikes Back. It's immediately what I thought of.
That's awesome.
It all
Can you
makes
imagine?
sense.
Can you imagine if it was a hydro spanner?
Yeah. My whole life I thought they made up spanner for Star Wars, but I guess it's a real word.
It's a real word. That's what they
Man,
call their wrenches. So, yeah.
they're crazy.
So Colonel Mustard admits that his wife was killed in a car accident, and he kind of gets after Forrest, who just responds,
Ho, ho, ho.
it's like, okay. Reverend Green assumes he received the rope because of like the rope of a bell, where the bell
Right.
hangs from.
That was cool. I like that.
Yep. And Mrs. Peacock, she gets the knife, and I liked this bit. She gets the knife and she throws it knife style, and it skewers a piece of fruit in a painting. She says, I still got it. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that, huh?
God bless. It's crazy. It's like these 6 people are just really murderers. And in any given story, any one of them is going to go off, but like they were just
Yeah.
born murderers or something.
Well, I will say in the first series, the Reverend Green was the only one to not have committed a murder.
Oh.
So good for him, being just a regular human.
There you go. Cleric, a clergyman. Good
Being
clergyman.
a good person. Uh,
Yeah.
So after she throws the knife and gets the piece of fruit that she wanted in that painting, she suggests they all play a game. And so it's essentially like it's a weird scavenger hunty kind of game. Because it's got scavenger hunt like vibes, but once they get there, they have to answer like a trivia question. So it's like, okay, I don't know what game. Maybe that's like a real game, like a traditional game in Britain or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But to me, it was just like, oh, that's weird.
Spoiler alert, I also got all these questions wrong or had no idea what they were talking about at all.
Oh no.
Sorry.
That's all right. Mrs. White was in the kitchen in a frenzy because she got the candlestick, and Ken the chauffeur says, "Oh, don't worry, Forrest he's just a practical joker. It's fine. Like don't worry about it, chillax." And the Reverend Green enters and he gives them notebooks and pencils for the quiz game. But it's all things about Christmas. And so they find one of them right like immediately there's one in the kitchen, and it was name all Santa's reindeer.
Oh yeah. Oh, actually, I could get that one. That one's easy.
I think he even says like, I didn't even know they had names. Like, really? I mean, there's a whole poem about it.
Yeah, I think it was so big in America, maybe not as big other places. I don't know.
Like I remember finding out that like Charlie Brown, the Peanuts, the Charlie Brown Christmas wasn't big in like Britain. Like here it's like you have to watch it every Christmas. And over there it's like, eh. But they have one which is the snowman that's like big over there, and over here is like, eh. Nobody ever heard of it.
That's cool.
So
yeah. Wow.
So Forrest and Peacock are discussing Peacock's knife throwing. Because I mean, I would be too. I'd be like, how'd you know how to do that? Apparently she was in like some sort of circusy type thing, and there was an unfortunate death of a rival for her lover's affection.
Oh yeah,
that's kind of how it goes. But he decides he wants to publish his dad's diary and buy back Arlington Grange, and she's like, well, it's not for sale. And then that's when he threatens,
Yes, isn't it? Especially since if it were, I might be able to arrange to have the diaries edited so as to say, leave out all mention of poor Velma and her most unfortunate accident.
That's blackmail, Mr. Forrest.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, right there. I was like, oh, okay, now she did it. Man, they got me right where they want me. Yeah, they got me because like every single scene they like point you in a new direction, and I like it's obviously not not right, but I'm like that's it, I got it, it's her. I got everything I said about Reverend Green.
If you ever read Murder on the Orient Express, or if you ever watch the 1975 or 76 version of it, there's one of the characters who's like the head of like the train line, and he's there just listening to all these Poirot interrogate all these people, and every time he's finished talking with someone, the guy gets up and he's like, "He did it, Monsieur. It was him."
Yes, that's me.
That's you, yeah. So Miss Scarlett's looking for the quiz questions, and here they are. I want to give our listeners a chance for this. This is the only one that I had a little issue with. It was, in which year could you have been fined 5 shillings for celebrating Christmas? The answer was 1659. And then Ken the chauffeur reads the second question. It was, name the 3 kings. Of course, you and I know that. It's Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar. If you're using their traditional Western names, they have different names in the Eastern tradition. But so
sure, yeah, I don't know that. I was like, that's just not that's not official though, right? Oh, so you can scratch this, but
yeah, no, it's, I mean, that's like their traditional names. It's just
okay.
No, we don't really absolutely know with certainty. But anyway, so Miss Scarlett leaves. Miss Scarlett leaves. Then Peacock and Mustard are arguing about keeping her secret safe when Miss Scarlett enters. And she's like, like, I don't care what you do, just keep the secret safe. And you're like, oh, what secret are they talking about? And Miss Scarlett asks Peacock if she'll accept the offer of marriage from, quote, that miserable man, unquote. And that's kind of how that ends.
Yeah, and so at that point, I was still thinking that Professor Plum didn't even like Miss Peacock, and he liked Miss Scarlett. So none of that made sense to me. I was just like, what?
Yeah, so Professor Plum apparently has kind of been trying to woo Mrs. Peacock.
Right.
So,
he seemed like a nice guy.
Oh, man. It's what we in the business called pressure of speech. Anyway, so Colonel Mustard meets Ken the chauffeur with the next quiz question. How old is Rudolph? But Forrest, who's still in his Father Christmas robes, like butts in and kind of interrupts. Ken decides to go to the drawing room, Forrest to the study, and Miss Scarlett emerges and confronts Colonel Mustard, calling him a liar and a traitor. So, she might have found out about her and about him and Mrs. Peacock.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Wait, so real quick, how old is Rudolph?
Well, see, that's what's interesting. I don't know if they're talking about like his actual age or if they're talking about like since it was written, like since the story came out. And
right.
Because I've never read. Well, no, I have. It's just been a long time. I don't remember in the original story if they say how long it is. And anyway, so yeah, okay, yeah. So this was the other one that I was like, oh, what do they mean by that? Like which question are they going for?
I was confused by that.
Yeah. Professor Plum asks where Mrs. Peacock is, and so he goes to see her. He confesses he got the lead pipe because you use lead in nuclear fission. And he was accused of stealing an idea from one of his students. Anyway, but this is also where Mrs. Peacock says, I'm not going to marry you. Like,
dang.
I know. I was like, brutal.
Well, it seems like they didn't really have any kind of relationship. He might have been a little delusional.
I think it was all in his head, yeah. It's like when he tried to put his hand on Miss Scarlett's behind in Clue the movie, it's all in his mind.
It's all in his head, yeah.
Yeah.
When it's had the part about a student right there, and then he was like, "Oh no, sorry, I'm jumping ahead." They asked him about it in the
yeah. We'll get there.
We'll
get there.
All right.
And I'll try to speed it up because I know I'm taking a little bit long. So Mrs. White passes by Father Christmas. Reverend Green and Professor Plum confront Father Christmas, who enters a room and talks to Scarlett, and she has a gun that's loaded. She shoots a decoration, and anyway, so the suspects are reviewing their answers. What was the Roman equivalent of Christmas? It was Saturnalia. Mrs. White shrieks because Ken the chauffeur is dead.
What on earth? He's dead!
Forrest?
No! Not Mr. Forrest. Then who? His
now we cut to the studio.
Yeah.
As soon as he was dead, I was like, well, okay, he's probably not Ken the chauffeur. But like that was just a guess on my part. And then it happened and I was like, what? Like, come on. They're like, yeah. Anyway.
I didn't get that at all.
Because I was like, why would they kill the chauffeur, Like, what did I mean, anyway. So the suspects enter, they take their seats. Team one give their gut reaction. They think it was Colonel Mustard in the dining room with the wrench. Team two also thinks it was Colonel Mustard with the candlestick in the kitchen. And so this is the interview round. The suspects can only answer one question, and then they can't be asked any other questions. 5 of them have to tell the truth. The murderer can lie.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, this is by far the coolest part for me anyway, is that you saw this video with these actors and then now they're there with you on stage in front of everybody, and then they're also in character and they have to be, I'm sure they have to be on their toes and know the ins and outs of everything because they cannot answer something the wrong way according to their character.
Right. Well,
that was impressive.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting because they have to have the backstory. Like they have to be able to, okay, this is what was going on. This was here. Remember that. And then I wonder how much they could just improvise,
Right.
Like what was improv? What did they have to learn? But I mean, you're right. This was probably the best part of the whole thing, not the actual videos. So they asked what was the color of the lampshade in the drawing room, and then they guessed it. And team two.
I was like, what?
I know. I was like,
what world am I gonna remember that? Like,
well, team two was doing pretty well. They got
yes.
Mm-hmm. So they asked Colonel Mustard, where were you going when Forrest and Peacock were talking in the drawing room? He says he was doing the quiz. So that's where he was going. He was going to do the quiz. Team one asked Professor Plum, was the student that you were accused of plagiarizing Richard Forrest? And he says, no. And spoiler alert, I might be doing his bit later on.
Well, and then when he said it, though, he seemed really uncomfortable, and he was just like, no, it's just a student at the university. And I was right there. I was like, oh, it's him. It's him. Look at him. He's very uncomfortable. But it just goes to show you, like, in real life, just because someone seems, suspect or whatever, it doesn't mean, or they're uncomfortable. Seems like they're lying. It doesn't mean they're lying. Anyway, sorry.
They could just be flustered,
Yeah, exactly. So
team two asked Mrs. White, what was the significance of the candlestick? She said there was a terrible fire at her old job. She was accused of starting it. And so that she assumed that the candlestick, because, candles, starting fires.
Right.
So team one asked Mrs. Peacock, what were you asking Colonel Mustard to do when you said just deal with it? And this is where I was like, oh, it might be Mrs. Peacock, because she kind of gave like a very vague answer. She said,
I was going to leave that entirely to Mike. I trust him implicitly as to how he would deal with it.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, you didn't answer the question, lady.
Yeah, I thought it was Colonel Mustard because of that.
Right.
I guess I believed her.
Oh, yeah, if you thought it was Colonel Mustard, yeah. But I was like, you didn't answer that question. Then team two asks Reverend Green, why did you come in through the back door? He says, well, I've known the family for years, and I usually just come in that way. And team one asks Miss Scarlett, where did you get the bullets? And she said, oh, her father had them, and they never threw them away.
that was funny. The audience liked that one too. That was funny.
So now that everybody's been asked a question, the teams do their deducting. Team one guessed Colonel Mustard in the dining room with the candlestick. They got all of them wrong. Team two said it was Colonel Mustard. Well, first they said they thought that Ken the chauffeur was actually the real Forrest. Then they said they thought it was Colonel Mustard in the kitchen with the candlestick, and they got them all wrong there too. So at this point, the host actually says, look, you're all wrong. Colonel Mustard was in it. So that automatically crosses out all those three. So it's not the candlestick, it's not the kitchen, it's not the dining room, and it's not Colonel Mustard. So
Okay.
cleared Colonel Mustard name.
See, that was for me. I'm used to playing the game, and I was just like, that's too much information at once. You should, because we used to only say you would say
Yeah.
you were not right. Here's one thing that's
Yeah,
wrong,
so
or something
in the
like that.
game they make their accusation. If you have one of the cards, then you have to show them,
Yeah,
and then they can cross that one off if you have it, you know. So
they
they
got
can
three, bro. They got more than that. I was like, that's
well,
too much.
it's a game show. You gotta
No,
speed
no, no,
things
no,
up.
no.
There's video taking up all the time, you know. You
No,
got
it's gotta be. Come on, faithful. We gotta be faithful to the game here.
We're trying to find out, remember, who killed Ken the chauffeur and why. I can reveal that some fascinating new evidence has suddenly come to light, which may help our two teams, or perhaps may even hinder them. We start as Miss Scarlett is escorting Richard Forrest from the library on his guided tour of the Grange.
So we get another scene, and in this time, it's part of when Miss Scarlett is accompanying Forrest from the library on that guided tour. They meet Mrs. White, and she's like, oh, she has like a weird moment. The Reverend Green tells White that apparently the judge kept diaries and Forrest has them, and that he wants the house back. And then we see Professor Plum also, he's looking at the Santa suit there. Like he finds just a Santa suit. And then it cuts back to the studio. So that's it. It was like just this little bit
Wait,
here.
didn't it have somebody running off, or is that on the next one?
That's on the next one.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was just that little piece, and then cut back to the studio. Okay. So now each team, here's a new round. Each team has 45 seconds to ask as many questions as they can. And the whole time I was like, you guys are asking too slow.
I know. Yes, and the guy too, he was like, you have 45 seconds. I'm just reminding you, you have 45 seconds. Mr. Colonel Mustard or whatever it was. Like, and by the way, I liked how you did this.
Yeah. It's like no. Come on, guys. Cut to the chase here.
Like they're getting into it, like they're in the Clue world too. Like they weren't just
Oh yeah, they literally like apologized. Oh, sorry about accusing you. I was like, no, just like go. You only have 45 seconds. So Team 2 goes first. They asked Mrs. Peacock, when you bought the house, did you meet Richard? She says no. They asked Mrs. White, did you know Forrest as a kid? Or did you recognize him when he was posing as the chauffeur? She said she felt some weird things. You know, she was a little confused, is what she says. Team 1 asked Colonel Mustard, was it you in the Santa outfit at the end? He says yes. He said, I would have thought that would have been obvious. And that's that's all that they asked him. They only got that one question. Team 2
God,
says,
awful.
Mrs. Peacock, why did you assume it was Forrest when he hadn't introduced himself? She said, well, he got a phone call and asked if he could come over, so I thought that was him. Did you expect him dressed as Santa? I was pretty nervous about it, but no. You never met him before? No. So they only asked Mrs. Peacock that. Team 1 went back to Colonel Mustard. I don't know why, because we already eliminated him as a suspect. Ask the others. Colonel Mustard, why were you dressed as Santa? He said he was looking for the other young man, so I thought it best to put it on. I was like, what does that mean? And then Reverend Green, why was the money missing? And he just says, well, we were raising it for bells, and it just kind of happened. And anyway, and then team 2, Miss Scarlett, why were you abusive to Colonel Mustard? She said, well, I just found out that he had been having an affair with my stepmother, Mrs. Peacock. How did you find out? And he said, she told me. So we find out this is where we find out that scene where she comes out and calls him a liar and a traitor. She had gone in, remember, before she had asked Mrs. Peacock if he was really going to marry that miserable man. She meant Professor Plum, because Professor Plum had asked her to marry him.
Yeah.
But Miss Peacock said, well, no, I'm not going to marry Colonel Mustard, even though whatever. And so anyway, that's when she dropped the bombshell. And then they asked Professor Plum, why did you think Mrs. Peacock would marry you? Yes. I was like, oof, that's brutal.
I know.
Well, we met about 3 years ago when I moved to the village, and we've met on many social occasions. I thought there was an understanding between us, and...
Yeah, that's just it.
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely in his own world.
No, yeah, totally. So team one gives a deduction. Mr. Green with the rope in the kitchen. None of those were right. And then team two says Mrs. White with the knife in the hall. And they find out they're right on one of them.
One of them, yeah.
Mrs. White with the knife in the hall.
No!
Mrs. White with
Never!
Trudy and Leslie, you're right on one. Tony and Fiona, I have to tell you that you're wrong on all three, so the Reverend Green is eliminated.
Yep. So, of course, Mr. Green is ruled out, or excuse me, Reverend Green is ruled out because team one had all of them wrong. Okay.
Right.
All right. So this is where they asked the audience to vote. 23% think it was Miss Scarlett, 54% think it was Mrs. White. So very interesting.
Yeah, I could see that, why they would think that, because she's just kind of there, and then also a little awkward in some places. It makes sense.
Well, like she said, she was just so confused.
Yeah.
So we finally get more of the videos. The Christmas quiz is underway. So this is before the murder happens. Miss Scarlett and Colonel Mustard in their library talking about their affair. Ken, the chauffeur, and Richard Forrest, again in the Santa outfit, are arguing about blackmail. And it seems like it is revealed to be true. And the guy playing, Forrest, quote unquote, says, well, I thought this was just like a game, like a practical joke, not like blackmail. And so he gets kind of mad. And then Colonel Mustard meets Forrest in the hall, and then Mrs. White and Miss Scarlett are carrying presents. And that's kind of how this scene ends right here.
Wait, so Forrest, the real Forrest,
was Ken the chauffeur.
But he didn't actually, it was the other guy who was pushing the blackmail scheme.
Well, so it seemed like the other guy was actually upset. So Ken the chauffeur, who was the real Forrest, and so he thought he was just kind of joking around, not real blackmail, but he apparently gets really mad and kind of has this tiff with Forrest when they're by themselves.
They are going to lynch me. No. You said it was going to be a laugh.
It is.
Well, not in there, it isn't.
Listen, you are the judge's son, and that makes you untouchable.
Well, I don't feel particularly untouchable, do I?
Then think of the money.
So I think at that point he's like, whoa.
Well, let me just say, after both of the extra footage, I still
didn't know. Yeah.
I was just so confused that some guy ran off. Outside. Yeah. I didn't even know, it was so fast. I couldn't even tell who ran off. I was just like, what am I getting out of this? I don't understand.
I understand. Yeah, I gotcha. It was interesting. And it's only with this, when I watched it the second time, that I got all the nuance of everything. I was like, oh, okay. I got it now. Yeah. Yeah, because I watched it twice. I watched it and then I didn't take any notes, and then I was taking notes on it. I was like, okay, I understand why.
Oh, I see. I had to take notes. That makes sense.
No, I had to take notes. You didn't have to. So we come back to the studio. We're almost done here. We're wrapping up. Each team gets one question, and then they have to give a deduction. So team one asks again, Colonel Mustard, like, come on, like, enough with the Colonel Mustard. But when you saw the Santa, did you know that he wasn't Forrest? And he said he didn't know. And then they asked Mrs. Peacock.
They're asking Colonel Mustard again.
And then they accuse. Yeah, I know, it's the weirdest thing.
What did they get out of that?
I don't know. That's what I'm like. So then they accuse. Their deduction is Mrs. Peacock with the knife in the study. And they had one right. So the knife. Now they know that the knife is the right weapon. Team two.
Wait, let me pause real quick. So
yeah.
And this was, again, the team that got to go first. They had to guess what color something was again.
It was something like that, yeah.
And then so this is the crazy part, is that just because of that one thing, now they always get that advantage of they got to guess first, I guess.
Yeah, so it's
That's
like...
pretty big deal.
I mean, it is. But also, like, you got to be watching everything and clocking it all, but also paying attention to the story. So team two, though, they guess Miss Scarlett with the knife in the study, and they say they have two right. Okay, anyway, so team one guesses...
Yes, it is Miss Scarlett, but of course it wasn't in the study.
It was in the library.
Which weapon?
What? With the knife, because she lied to Mrs. White about the knife when she said Mother's taken the knife, thereby putting the blame onto her mother and her stepmother about the knife. She already had the knife.
Miss Scarlett did it. Who said that?
Miss Scarlett
Put the knife
put
in the library.
And they get it right. That's the correct solution, and Miss Scarlett confesses. Oh,
But
I know.
Team 2
I know what it is. Team 2 gives their reason.
Yeah, that's what it
why
is.
they think. Yeah. So the knife puts the blame on Mrs. Peacock.
Right.
And then if she's blamed and gets arrested, then that frees up Colonel Mustard to continue their love affair.
Right.
That's why they think Miss Scarlett was it. That's why they think it was a knife.
It's unfortunate because Team 2
they were so
figured out
close.
that big point there, and then
they just guessed the wrong room.
Yeah.
And the other two, Team 1 just guessed the right room.
Oh man! And then at the end, they were like, "We're very proud of you for being great detectives." To Team 1. And I'm like, "What? It was the come on now."
Hey, that's life. But that also happens in the game too, where like someone's guessing. You're like, okay, I see you.
Yeah, that's what I would probably do is just try and sniff what other people are thinking.
You start piggybacking on the others. Yeah, for real. So Miss Scarlett stands up and gives her confession.
Yes, it was me, with the knife in the library. At first, I was going to kill Mike, Colonel Mustard. Well, wouldn't you if you'd been betrayed by someone you loved, who all the time was planning to marry your stepmother? Anyhow, that's why I went to the study, to try and find some bullets that would fit the gun I'd been given. And then he came in that Father Christmas outfit and told me how the chauffeur was really Richard Forrest and how he was trying to blackmail my mother into giving him the house. Then I realized how, if I killed Forrest with my mother's knife, I could throw all the blame onto her and keep the house and my lover. So I went to look for Forrest, who was still in the library trying to finish off that ridiculous quiz. It's a pity he didn't live long enough to learn that he had the correct answers.
So there you have it. Vivian Scarlett scheming to the last. Stabs to death the real Richard Forrest in the library.
She was going to kill Mustard, but then after she talked with the fake Forrest and he confessed that Ken was actually the real Forrest and that he wanted to blackmail, she decided to change her plan. So she killed the real Forrest with Mrs. Peacock's knife so that she would get blamed for it. And then he wraps it up, and the host wraps it up, and that's it. So if you could be in this episode, who would you be?
What do you mean?
Like if you could be a character in this episode.
Oh, in the character, I guess probably Professor Plum. It's just feels safe and kind of disconnected from everything.
Yeah.
Just has that one delusion that
off in La La Land about him and
he
Mrs.
thinks he's
Peacock.
he thinks he's dating her. All right, that sounds like something I would do.
It's like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're going out with him? Like, I thought we were gay. I thought we were dating.
Yeah.
You two-timing me? No, we're not dating.
We talked one time a month ago. Come on.
That means you're totally in love with me. I think I would be. I'd probably be the Reverend Green because he's just kind of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he seemed like for the most part a pretty good guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't have to worry. I'm just here. I have my mince pies. I'm good.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Yeah, for real. So, what would you say would be your happiest memory or moment with this episode or with Clue in general? I'll take with Clue in general.
Well, with this moment, I'm gonna do both. With this show in particular, like I said, I really enjoyed the interacting with the characters, the actors, getting into their parts, and I actually feel like that part of the show could have gone longer. It was so short, and then they also were like, you only have 45 seconds. Like, okay, why? You could give a little more time than that. They were rushed. But that was the interesting part because you get to see the actors improvising.
Yeah.
You feel like you're really a part of like the story's real. So for me, that was the best part of the show. And then the best memories I have, of Clue that put a smile on my face are looking back when I was a kid. I think it was both you and David would play Clue Junior with me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It
It was like who
was
stole some birds, the pets, right? Like a
yeah,
pet gets
because
kidnapped or something.
they're all kids and each person has a pet. And I don't really remember that much about it, but I just remember that y'all would like, it wasn't like you wanted to play it, but you would play it for me so that I could have you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
I could have a good time. And so I'll never forget that. It really bring me a lot of joy.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Yeah. Just kidding. No, yeah, good times. I do remember getting, I don't know if it was for Christmas or for my birthday, getting Clue the Great Museum Caper. Do you remember that one? And like, it's not even,
That was cool.
I don't think it was about who killed someone. I think it was like who stole
Yes.
something from a museum.
New from the makers of the Clue game. It's not a murder, it's a mystery. A magnificent mystery in the Great Art Museum. It's the Great Museum Caper game. You're the thief. You steal the art. Can you escape Miss Scarlett as she scours the gallery? Perhaps Professor Plum will find you in the foyer. Maybe Colonel Mustard can pinpoint your position. Or will you get to a window and escape?
Stop! Gotcha!
Play the Great Museum Caper game.
But it had, if I recall, it had like 3D model or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was really cool. I mean, I don't know if it's a good game. I don't know if it holds up, but back then,
back then it was awesome.
new.
Yeah.
It was new, it was exciting.
Well, just
and it was
like
more
when
3D.
Just like right, exactly. Just like when David got Master Detective.
Oh,
and it was
yes.
like, whoa, there's more. Now there's
It was
poison.
huge.
And
the map was huge.
It was a big old place. They added more rooms. It was like a carriage house and all sorts of things like that.
Yeah.
Or stables or whatever it was. There were more rooms, more weapons, and more suspects. And
yeah.
That was cool. So
that was amazing. Yeah, both of those. I forgot about the Great Museum Caper. That was really cool.
Yeah. With this one, I think my favorite part was just I mean, the most interesting part, you're right, was when they were actually playing and talking with the contestants. But I think my favorite part would probably be just when they were doing the Christmas game. Because I was like, well, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah. I bet you'd love that in real life.
Heck yeah, let's do it now.
You'd have all the answers memorized and you'd play just like in Trivial Pursuit.
Oh yeah, I can't believe I used to do that. I'd read the cards and study them and learn all the. Yes. Okay, I'll remember that.
That's pretty smart.
But now we come to my favorite part of the show, which is the little segment I call "Gag Me with a Spoon," where we do our best impression of our least favorite part of the of this episode here. As a guest, I'll let you go first. Just kind of set up the scene for us a little bit.
Shoot, I'm not prepared for this, so I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go with the. I don't know if I should do that. Hold on, time out. I'm thinking like, I guess I'll.
Who's this guy? Zach Morris over here? No, it's cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll just go with where they're taking forever to ask a question or something. I really did not enjoy them taking forever. I was getting anxious. And yeah, so he's like, "You have 45 seconds." And they're like, "Hey, Colonel Mustard," who, by the way, like already wasn't a suspect anymore. They just kept going back to him, like, "Colonel Mustard, I apologize for the way I treated you, and by the way, I love your outfit, and then 45 seconds. Yes, I'm getting to it. Yes, I'm getting to it. And then yes, Colonel Mustard.
So ridiculous.
Okay, that was a terrible impersonation,
No, that's good.
but I don't remember anything.
That's fine. That's fine. So I went with Professor Plum when they asked him about was the student Richard Forrest, and he said, "No, the student was a young lady. It was all dealt with quite happily within the college, and she was in fact sent down for possessing illegal substances." I was like, "Wait, what?"
And then the host was like, "Yes, that's quite common in."
That's quite common. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's like that. Yeah, that happens.
Oh man, that was good.
But G.I. Joe taught us that knowing is half the battle. What do you think the other half is?
Uh, making sure that you memorize the color of every object in every single scene of
Oh man.
every murder mystery. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, clues, right? It's
I
better
just
than
didn't
mine.
understand that. How did they remember that?
And they got them too. They're like black. They're like pink. It was like, what? Okay. That's better than mine. I just thought if no one's half the battle, the other half was just don't blackmail clue suspects.
Yes, yes.
Guys,
Didn't
if you ever
everybody
meet
learn
someone
that?
whose last name is Mustard, don't blackmail them. Like, come on.
Or a color, even any color.
If they're named
I'm
after
sure
color,
there's lots of
right.
colors that haven't been in the game yet, but they're
Stay away from them.
yeah, cold-blooded killers.
That's all of them. All they need is that little push over the edge.
Yeah.
Danny, this is a lot of fun talking about this ridiculous show.
Oh yeah.
You're right. I think they could bring it back. I think it could be super cool if done correctly. But I also think it would have to really be done correctly. Otherwise, it could end up being,
Yeah.
General Hospital with murder. Well, I guess General Hospital does have murder, so never mind.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think in this time frame, I don't think even if it was done well, like
It
now,
might not work.
I
Yeah.
think it would still flop. But if they had done it well back in the 90s, it could have had like a couple more seasons.
Yeah, you're probably right.
You know, and come to been a syndication in America and everything like that. But yeah,
I would've
but
watched
that's
it.
cool, man.
Yeah.
When you told me about this, you know, after watching those Clue 2 videos, I was kind of like, I don't want to watch this. You know, like,
It was a step
cool.
up from Clue 2.
Yeah, it was definitely a step up.
It wasn't like Shakespeare, but it was definitely a step up from Clue 2.
Hey, they had British accents, so to me, like, I was like, "Whoa, this is like high theater or something." I thought it was Shakespeare
Out
until
damn
you
spots.
said.
Oh man. Well, thanks again. Love you, bro. And on that note, I'll end it with yes, it was me with the knife in the library. So check us out on our social media pages, which you can find at linktree.com/totallyradchristmas. And if you're feeling like you just solved a mystery, leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us reach more people and spread some rad holiday cheer. Now, don't forget to check out our merch shop on tpublic.com and our super dope website, totallyradchristmas.com. From all of us here on Cluedo, enjoy the rest of your Christmas holiday. Later, dudes.
From all of us here on Cluedo, enjoy the rest of your Christmas holiday. Good night.
A new series of Cluedo begins next spring.
Solving this mystery can be murder.